Hey everybody, I thought I'd do just a midweek update here and talk about my fill this week and a few other things that came to mind sort of related to my fill that relate to some of the videos I watched last night. Well, my fill was on Tuesday and it was rather uneventful. Usually it seems like the fill isn't the big deal itself, it's how you adjust to the fill after you get it. But he went in first try with the needle, it went straight into my port, and I had 4 cc's already in there from my first fill, so this was my second fill. And he added 1.5 more cc's, so I have 5.5 cc's in there now. He did tell me when he was done that there was quite a bit of pushback when he put the needle in, so I guess what he was trying to tell me was that I was fairly tight already. So he told me to be real careful when I transition into solid foods, to be careful. So that's a little bit of what I'm going to talk about. When I got home, I felt fine. I could get fluids down just fine. After my first fill, that wasn't really the case that evening. Even liquids hurt my stomach. Felt like anything I put in my stomach or in my pouch, whether it was yogurt or liquid, protein shake, anything like that, just felt like I was swallowing glass for about 4 days after I got my first fill. I didn't feel like that this time. But what I did notice was that I seemed to have a lot more restriction into how much I could put in. And unfortunately, I had my very first stuck episode a couple nights ago. So I got my fill on Tuesday. I did liquids for 24 hours after that. Midday on Wednesday, I had switched to soft foods, did that for 24 hours, and on Thursday evening, I transitioned to what I'd still consider soft foods, but softer foods that needed to be chewed. I'm going to show you what I was eating. I had some deli meat that I got at the deli, and I asked them to shave it when they sliced it rather than even thin slices. So I don't know if you can tell how thin that is. I mean, you can see through this piece of lunch meat. So I took 3 of these and I laid them on a plate, and then I put this hummus, which I've never had before. It's just like a paste, it's on consistency of like a thin cream cheese or cream cheese dip sort of. And I put maybe a couple teaspoons of that on my plate, and then what I was doing was taking a little knife and putting some of the hummus on the meat, and then I rolled it up. And I chewed it until it was like a puree in my mouth. Well, after I ate those 3, all of a sudden I could feel in my chest that it just really started to hurt, and I could tell something was stuck. I've had that sensation before, but not to the point where I knew anything was truly stuck. It was just a little too much maybe. So usually if I pop a few of the papaya enzymes, it will help it out almost immediately. Well, I took 4 papaya enzymes and it really didn't do anything. I just had this like profuse slobbering going on. I couldn't swallow my own spit. It was just tons of saliva. I can't even tell you how much it was. Unless you've ever experienced it, you just wouldn't believe. I did have a few burps, and when I'd burp, it would just throw the saliva out, like spew it out. It's very thick, almost like a thin mucus, thick saliva, clear. And I walked around the house like that for a while, thinking, oh, I wish this would come up. And I hear a lot of people talk about that all of a sudden it will just pop up in a chunk. Well, mine wasn't in a chunk. I don't know. I don't understand what happened. I'm still trying to figure that out. There's something I need to learn from this, and I'm not exactly sure what it is. Maybe it's just related to that it was too much too soon after a fill. And maybe it's something that I'm even going to have to keep in mind, as my stomach adjusts to this fill. I'm not sure. But this whole episode lasted for probably 3 to 4 hours by the time it was all said and done. After about maybe 45 minutes or so, I used meat tenderizer, which my doctor's office recommends, 1/4 of a teaspoon of meat tenderizer to 1 tablespoon of warm water, dissolve it well and swallow that, and the theory is that will help break down the protein. Well, that didn't work. That did actually help me to maybe bring some of it up. Maybe it works some of it loose, I don't know. But anyway, in some of the saliva that came up at one point, it had food in it, but it wasn't chunks. It was just like you know, you could tell it was the food because it was the color of what I ate, but it was still almost in a pureed form. And after that came up, I thought, okay, I'm going to be better. And I felt better for just a few, and then it started back in again, and I could tell it hadn't really come up. And so I took a little bit more of the meat tenderizer. I walked around. I panicked, not in the sense like I thought I was going to die or anything like that. I knew that I would eventually be okay, but just in the sense that, you know, am I going to have to deal with this tonight? Am I going to have to call the doctor? Am I going to have to go to drive to an hour and a half to the surgeon's office and have them take some fill out so that I can actually resolve whatever's going on? Well, finally it got to the point where I did have almost like, not really a dry heaving because there was still saliva coming up, but finally at one point I just kind of helped or made myself go ahead and actually puke, and it came up, and it wasn't a chunk. It was just like puree that was all backed up. And as soon as that happened, then I was fine. I had a sore throat from all that going on, and I was thinking, you know, if I keep this up all night, if it doesn't go down, because I was going to try and wait till the next day to call the doctor. You know, I mean, I could see how you could dehydrate because you're so much liquids just coming out of your body at one time, or, you know, over the course of time through what's coming back up. But anyway, it did resolve, and I'm still trying to figure out exactly what I learned from that. I think it maybe eat slower because I know it wasn't a chunk. And I think that I'm going to attribute it to that I just had the fill. Maybe I wasn't ready to move on to that much food at one time, even though this is 3 of these. To me, that doesn't seem like anything in pureed form. But anyway, enough on that. So what did I do? I went on liquids for 24 more hours after that. And then last night, I decided to try some salmon, which is maybe not the best choice, but I thought I'll take it slow and make sure I don't get stuck. So the salmon patty is 19 grams of protein. It's just something that, you know, you bake. It's not breaded or anything like that. And it's about the size of maybe smaller than a deck of cards. But anyway, what I was able to eat out of that, this is what was left over before I was full. So as you can see, I probably ate 1/4 of that before I actually was to the full point where I stopped, because I did not want to risk another episode of anything being stuck. Even if I chewed it up good, I was afraid it'd just be a backup down there. But anyway, I digested that well. It went fine. And then later on, I thought, you know, I was still a little bit hungry, and all I'd had, you know, prior to that, for the most part, was liquids all day. So I had 6 McDonald's French fries, and that filled me up. I mean, I was stuffed after just 6 McDonald's French fries. So definitely I've got some restriction going on. I think my stomach is still a little bit pissed off from the fill, and hopefully in a few more days that'll calm down, because, you know, there's some, I guess you'd call it emotional things that come with getting a fill, on the debate of how much of a fill do you really want. I mean, I had this surgery and got this lap band so that it would stop me and slow me down, but on the other hand, it's much easier to have a fill that's not, you know, doesn't lead to a lot of restrictions, so you can still carry on in somewhat the manner as you did before. So when you get a fill, you know, it's like, do I really want this? Because it means that I'm really going to be challenged, and I'm really going to be limited more on the amount of food that I can eat. So I've been dealing with that a little bit, and of course I wanted the fill. I don't want to have a lot of side effects, though. I don't want the getting stuck, and I don't want to feel sick and things like that. I want to still be able to feel good and enjoy things, but still have a minimal amount of restriction. So hopefully I'll be right where I want to be after this fill settles in for a few weeks. And I'm running out of time on this, so I'm going to stop now, and I may move on to a part 2. Talk to you later.